eventually full, and you still had the patience to wait. So we'll thank you for that. We are pleased to welcome a number of key government officials in Charles William Press Hall. I would like to recognize them, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and Oswald is here, the Minister of National Defense, retired General Geraldine Janet George Johnson, the Director General of the President's Cabinet, the Nathaniel Kwabo is also here, the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of Liberia, General Follett is here. The Inspector General of Police is on his way and he will be here shortly. We'd like to also recognize members of their respective delegation. I see a young, beautiful colleague, used to be like you, covering press conferences, now he's at the Ministry of Justice. So the Minister of Justice will address the press and will be delivery of a special statement from the Government of Liberia on the situation at the border. When that statement is delivered, we allowed you, members of the press, to interact with him. And yeah, so you have the time to ask questions, maybe just in for questions. And then the minister and other members of the delegation will eventually leave. And the press conference will continue because it's a routine activity of the Ministry of Information, and there were some talking points that we're supposed to present today, but we don't want to hold the team with all of that. So when they are done, we lead them out, and then Minister Daniel Sino will continue with the rest of the talking points with all of you being here. But let me just say a few things before I invite the minister to come and speak. Many of you are media people and ordinary citizens are encouraged to try very hard and keep politics away from what is happening at the border. We hear your demands. We hear some of you saying every day somebody should stand on the podium and talk about what is happening at the border. In a situation like this, that's not what you want to do. You want to engage the population when it's extremely necessary and when you have very tangible information to give them. It cannot be a talking sharp kind of situation. We know there are some actors on social media who are desperate for content. It will please them if the government is proceeding in ways that enable them to generate the content they need, especially when people are talking all across the place and there are possible contradictions among what they say. And you use those contradictions to create content. Now, anyone who takes deep interest in content creation, then the security of the state got to have some issues. And as a government, we're not going to play by your game, by your bullet. We're not going to run things by your detail. We'll talk to the public, we'll talk to the press. When we deem it necessary, we'll work more beyond the scene when we think that is the way to go. Because all said and done, what you need to recognize is that this situation has gone on for a while. And you haven't seen an escalation. You haven't seen acts of war. That should be clear to you, that you have a government that knows exactly what to do and is doing just that. Is it a talking that you're interested in, maybe once every 12 hours? Or the management and mitigation of the situation? If the latter is the case, then the government is doing very well, and we want to urge you, our citizens, to continue to look up to the government to do what it has obligation to do. And I thought I needed to make this point. We get some who are very desperate for politics. You will listen to some of the interaction on talk shows. While the country is faced with these situations, their interest is in discussing people on business claims. You hear claims that this government has spent $8 billion on the crisis at the border. $8 billion for where? From heaven? And for what? And then stranger, these things are coming from people who call themselves leaders. Your interest is not in managing what is taking place, is in politics. And you're doing that politics by spreading lies and misinformation. That's dangerous, and you must stop. No one is beyond reproach. No one is above the law. And your excesses, you will be held accountable for it subsequently. I thought I had to make this point very clear, and I would love to invite the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who will deliver the special statement on the issue of the Mr. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ministers, President, members of the press, fellow Liberians, good afternoon. The government of Liberia knows that as a consequence of recent developments along Liberia's border with Guinea, particularly our northern frontier in Soloba, Fuya District, Bofa County, there is heightened concerns over boundary concerns between Liberia and Guinea. The joint security has been closely monitoring the developing situation, and we are here today to provide a clear update on the government's actions to safeguard our borders and ensure the safety of our citizens. The government wants to inform the Liberian public that it is in full charge of the situation and will continue to address it with the highest degree of maturity and wisdom necessary to protect our sovereignty and territorial integrity. Our government has determined that a lasting and peaceful solution will be possible through intensive dialogue and multiple diplomatic engagements. These efforts have been directed at the highest level by our president, who continues to exhibit responsible leadership. Since early March this year, the government has dispatched various delegations to the borders, and on March 13, 2026, dispatched a high-level delegation to Conakry, Republic of Guinea, to meet with officials of the Government of Guinea to discuss the matter and prevent future incidents. These advanced engagements culminated in the visit of President Barker and the President of Sierra Leone, His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, to Conakry, Guinea, to meet and discuss with the President of Guinea, His Excellency Mamadi Doumbouya. The significance of President Bio flying with President Barker on the same plane demonstrates the courage and strength necessary to consolidate regional peace and stability. The three leaders held cordial, frank, and fraternal discussions that culminated in the signing of the communique. The communique acknowledged the historic ties common tribes, tradition, and culture, as well as the spirit of their friendship, solidarity, good neighborliness, and cooperation that unite the three countries, and the leaders affirm their commitment to its implementation. The communique affirmed the leaders' unwavering commitment to the principle of the inviolability of borders and territorial integrity. But it makes no mention or reference to maps or any such documents. The three leaders in the communique call for the return to status quo of peaceful coexistence. Our government has taken additional actions to deploy and reinforce the joint security of our borders to maintain calm and ensure a robust presence in the area. Our goal is not escalation, but a restoration of confidence and the protection of our people. The government of Liberia calls upon all its citizens, especially those living along the border, to exercise restraint, mutual respect, and to preserve the historical bounds of peaceful coexistence. Liberia is a nation of peace, and we will continue to engage our Guinean brothers and sisters through the spirit of the Monrovia Union, which is expected to convene very soon. The government warns all citizens and residents alike that statements and analysis intended to inflame and undermine our efforts will not be tolerated. The issue of conflict and threat of escalation is sensitive and must be treated with the utmost patriotism. There have been raising numerous comments, commentaries, statements, utterances, claims, allegations, etc. on social media and the print media about the situation of the Liberian Guinean border. These comments have the dangerous propensity of inciting fear, panic, and chaos within our communities. This will cause unnecessary provocations, and the very positive approach of the government will be jeopardized. The government calls upon all to desist from making statements that will create instability and escalate the situation. We again reiterate that the national security institutions and agencies are in full control of this situation, and all non-state actors should desist from acting outside our constitutionally defined framework. While the government reaffirms its commitment to the rule of law, freedom of speech and the press, and the upholding of our democratic principles, we will not hesitate to take appropriate legal action against individuals conducting themselves in a manner inimical to the country and its people. Moreover, we hereby inform you, our citizens, that there are lots of fake AI-generated images, photos, and videos on social media about this situation. Hence, we want to admonish you to be aware of them and don't panic when you see them or run to judgment or base your judgment upon them. Most of them will be false. In these times of the collective survival of our nation, the patriotism and nationalism of our citizens are tested. In nationalism, the peace and stability of our country comes first, and our patriotism cannot be compromised. We, the government, will represent you well. We will do everything to ensure that our peace is not threatened. I thank you.
All right, so like I said, we take just 4 questions. I'm not going to take more than that. And you do that quickly the normal way. Stick your question to what they have done. Don't pass way around Jerusalem and look for questions that are not related to what they came here for. Stick your question to that, and 1 question per person, 4 questions, and we're done. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Darius Langa, and I'm for Guinea. Thank you, Mr. Minister. The question has to do with we need to talk about investigation, or we do have investigation and transparency. There will be a joint border investigation with the Guinea dispute, and who will
Good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Mukulu and I report for Insular Liberia. Minister want to say thanks so much. Liberia is a kind of good country and people listening to you. But what is exactly causing the digits, or better still, the same border issue? If the President Walker and several presidents have gone to Guinea, nearly 2 weeks now, the issue, we still have a liming issue. What really going on that the public need to know? What is the sticky issue the public want to know? Thank you.
So my name is James Mbala and I report from the Georgia Monrovia County. Mr. Thank you so much for the level of peace, the dialogue, and the truth. Liberia plays a major role in the border name and country in the United Nations. Since this process has started, has been surely and I will take the communications to the UN in regard to the situation at the border.
Last question.
Good afternoon. My name is Nafisa. I report for Statistics. My question was to the Minister in regard to the 3 countries committee. After all, the 3 countries leaders have met and they have been alleged that 570 have been deported to Liberia stand a chance in Guinea as well.
Thank you. We start with the last question. I cannot speak to the deportation, alleged deportation of Sierra-Leoneans living in Guinea by the Guinean authorities. We have no evidence or seen nothing about the deportation, current deportation of Liberians from Guinea. So it's nothing for us to worry about, contemplate. Yeah. Relative to the cause of the problem, yes, we will be investigating the cause and see what about the problem I can be resolved. Border concerns are not unique. It happens a lot around. But countries get together and they peacefully resolve the issue. And we think we can peacefully resolve the issue. We intend to do it. We should have started doing it by using diplomatic channels and dialoguing.
The sticky issue.
About John, we didn't mention John investigation, but I know in the communique states something about investigation thing, and that will be done and set up. Yes. Before we get to the United Nations, we have our own regional bodies and things that we intend to utilize in resolving this matter. That's the MRU, ECOWAS, and the EU before we go to the United Nations. Thank you.
Mokolo,
Yeah?
your question was answered?
No.
Okay, so what was it?
I said that's part of the President Walker going and all of, but we still have the rumor coming from Solomba. What is the sticky issue that causing the entire thing I would say hearing about it?
So rumors are not fact. The border is calm, the police inspector general is here, the immigration boss is at the border. And just as you said, rumors are what they are, rumors. People living there, they going about their businesses, but you following rumors, like the minister said, you following AI generated images showing the Makona River looking like a river in London, and you believe in it? So, for you who are media people in particular, you should be able to do your own analysis of things you see. If you see people posting AI images of tanks that maybe look like Israeli tank or Indian tanks, but you post it and create an impression that these are tanks from Guinea driving into Liberia and you're running with it, I'm sure you can distinguish between AI-generated images and realness. So if you're not interested in propaganda, if you're not interested in spreading falsehood, then you will not have to spread those things. Here you are, you're a journalist, you say, stick an issue. What is the issue? When I ask you for a reference, you say we can see images being flying around. Maybe I need to encourage you and your colleagues to make a trip to the border and start running behind images. And you get the facts. Thank you.
Please, your private copy is there, please.
Please shut the door. Please shut the door.
Yes, folks watching, there's a white people live for
You listen to the Attorney General and Justice Minister of the country,
Morris.
and everything the public needs to know about the situation at the border has been said. And I thought the statement read by the Honorable Justice Minister is already available formally. Please make sure you have the statement in soft copy to share with our media friends, so that the public and those who have interest in creating content can begin to post on their various social media pages. As announced by the Minister, we have other issues to share with you. So I'll just now ask for your undivided attention as I run through the list of issues that are before me here. I have to say to you that Liberia is hosting the Kimberley Process Review Mission. That delegation is here to assess the progress that have been made in the diamond sector. So the Ministry of Mines and Energy officially launched the Kimberley Process Review visit, and it is happening at the Belle Casa Hotel right here in Single. That visit is the first of such assessment to take place in Liberia since 2013. Prior to the opening, Mines and Energy Minister Aro Matunike Timber received the high-level delegation, welcomed their review, and expressed appreciation for the Kimberley Process Certification Scheme engagement in Liberia after more than 13 years. Delivering opening remarks on behalf of the ministry, the Deputy Minister for Administration, Idoria Blay-Piche, underscored the mission's importance to reaffirm Liberia's commitment to ensuring all diamonds exports remain conflict-free and contribute to national development. She highlighted key reforms aligning Liberia's diamond sector with international standards, including the strengthening of regulatory oversight, improved licensing systems, enhanced export controls, and more structured valuation processes. Awareness campaign targeting minors, brokers, and exports have been intensified, and schedule control are now in place at key port points such as the Barbados International Airport. He indicated that Bureau has invested in modernizing mining administration systems, including the transition from mining cadastral information management system to the mining cadastral administration system in 2013. Application for mining rights are processed on the first assess principle.
The government of Liberia has pledged full cooperation with the review team and openness to recommendations. The Ministry of Youth and Sports announced a comprehensive package of government-approved reforms at the Monrovia Vocational Training Center, the MVTC, Liberia's flagship technical and vocational training institution. The reforms submitted to His Excellency President Joseph Boakai Sr. and granted provisional presidential approval on March 20, 2026 will be implemented over a 12-month pilot cycle beginning immediately. The initiative represents the most significant repositioning of the MVDC in recent years, designed to expand access to skills training while ensuring that the programs offered are closely aligned with the actual demands of Liberia's emerging economy. Presidential approval and government commitments. Following a comprehensive assessment of the MVDC by the Minister Anthony Cordino Crab, the ministry presented a reform brief to His Excellency outlining both the untapped potential and the structural challenges facing the institution. In response, President Boakai acknowledged that while MVDC has infrastructure to support up to 3,000 students annually, current enrollment stands at fewer than 800, a gap attributable primarily to the financial barriers facing prospective trainees. The President granted provisional approval for a full package of reform to be piloted over the next 12 months, with outcomes to be monitored and evaluated before broader implementation. Immediate financial relief for students. Effective immediately, the Ministry of Youth and Sports has canceled all training material costs. I read that again. Effective immediately, the Ministry of Youth and Sport has canceled all training material costs and uniform fees for students enrolled at MVTC. The decision directly addressed the most cited obstacle to enrollment and signaled the government's recognition that access to skills training must be treated as a public investment, not a private burden. Students who have already paid USD $25 fee, students who have already paid a USD $25 uniform fee will not lose those funds. The ministry has directed that all such payments be credited towards graduation fees, ensuring that no student who made a financial commitment to their training is disadvantaged by the reform. Young people who previously sat and passed the MVDC entrance examination but were unable to enroll due to limited capacity or financial constraints are strongly encouraged to present themselves for registration immediately. The ministry has confirmed that adequate arrangements are in place to facilitate a smooth and inclusive enrollment process. Structural reforms, a 12-month pilot. Beyond immediate fee relief, the approved reforms introduce structural changes designed to modelize MVDC's operations and expand its long-term capacity. Over the 12-month pilot cycle, the ministry will implement the following measures. Students' transportation support. The ministry will introduce dedicated transportation arrangements, including the procurement of buses to ensure that distance and mobility costs no longer prevent students from attending training. Recruitment of instructors and technical staff. Additional instructors and qualified technical personnel will be recruited to strengthen workshop capacity, improve instructors to students ratio, and elevate the quality of practical training delivered to the center. Semi-autonomous operational model. MVDC will be authorized to engage in production and service activities tied to its existing workshops. The model will allow the institution to generate revenue while simultaneously providing students with hands-on industry-relevant experience, a critical component of market-ready skills development. The learning skills training with where jobs are. The central ambition of the reform agenda is to close the gap between what MVDC teaches and what Liberia's economy actually needs, by prioritizing critical and growing sectors, including mining, renewable energy and solar technology, agro-processing and food production, digital services and ICT, hospitality and tourism, and healthcare support services to be accommodated by formal skills training programs. The ministry will undertake a structured review of the MVDC's curriculum and workshop offering during the pilot period with the goal of introducing or expanding training tracks that reflect actual employer demand and emerging sector growth. This process will involve direct engagement with private sectors, development partners, relevant government ministries to ensure that graduates are not merely trained, but trained for jobs that exist and are growing. The ministry recognizes that Liberia's workforce development strategy must be forward-looking, equipping young Liberians with skills that our economy values today and will need tomorrow. It is essential to introducing youth on employment, attractive investment, and building the foundation for sustained economic growth. The Ministry of Youth and Sports is running this pilot project to revamp the MVDC and will encourage young Liberians to take advantage of that. Some diplomatic news quickly. You heard in the news already that the delegation from Turkey is in the country. They met with Her Excellency Madam Sarah Besko-Yanti, the Dean of the President's Cabinet, the Foreign Minister of the country. She received the delegation at her Ministry of Foreign Affairs office, and as I stated, they are here for the purpose of establishing an embassy for the Republic of Turkey in Liberia. Welcome the delegation on behalf of His Excellency President Boyka. Mr. Yanti underscored the importance of strengthening bilateral relations and deepening economic cooperation between the two nations. Reinforcing two different meetings which he held with the President of the Republic of Turkey, His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan in 2025, Minister Sarah Besko-Yanti underscored the Turkish President's commitment to ensuring his support to revitalize the Rabat International Airport. Thanking the Turkish delegation for the upcoming Turkish airline flight. The foreign minister stressed that President Erdogan also requested the government to work closely in supporting effective operations at the Rabat International Airport. Speaking on behalf of the delegation, Mr. Mustafa Kamel Bassa expressed appreciation for the warm reception. He emphasized Turkey's interest in creating favorable conditions for Turkish businesses to operate and invest in Liberia. The delegation is expected to meet security officials and the executive mansion to ensure that their needs for opening the embassy are addressed across various sectors in Liberia. Minister Sarah Besloyanti encouraged the Turkish delegation to explore investment opportunities within the Monrovia region, looking at Liberia not only as a market of only its population, but seeing Liberia as a hub of connectivity, highlighting the country's potential for cross-border trade. She described this economic diplomacy push as an initiative that will be mutually beneficial opportunity that will yield positive outcomes for both Liberia and Turkey. Addressing Liberian needs for opening an embassy in Ankara, the head of the Turkish delegation requested that Liberia look into its embassy in Ankara, a consulate in Istanbul. It has come to the attention of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry that users of creative content, music, arts, movies, etc., in the majority are not in compliance with the rules governing the commercial use of those materials bearing the intellectual property rights of person and institution having ownership as prescribed by sections 9.6, 9.35, and 9.36 of the 2016 Intellectual Property Act of Liberia. This constitutes a toxic violation, according to the Ministry of Commerce, of the general business law and intellectual property law of the country. It undermines Liberia's commitment to international trade rules and obligations over intellectual property and Liberia's creative entertainment industry. As such, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry is categorically clear and requires full compliance by all registered businesses using creative content within the bailiwick of Liberia by obtaining the needed copyright clearances and licenses before the commercial exploration or exploitation of creative content as prescribed by the law. In furtherance of ensuring compliance, the Ministry, working along with its implementing partners, the Liberia Intellectual Property Office, and the Copyright Society of Liberia, will conduct routine surveillance and inspection exercises. This announcement, the Ministry indicated, has claimed the attention of content users, including but not limited to mobile network operators, centers of hospitality, hotels, bars, restaurants, casino, gaming centers, etc. Traders, wholesalers, retailers, music, movies, broadcast TV and radio stations. The Ministry of Labor has issued a 30-day ultimatum to the Liberia Agricultural Company LAC which is operating in Grand Bassa County, to provide justification for its refusal to pay work permit fees for foreign employees since the company began operation in Liberia in 1959. Labour Minister Kobokra disclosed that records in the Ministry of Labor's possession indicate that despite nearly 70 years of operation, LAC has consistently failed to obtain and pay labor work permits for its foreign workforce as required by law. The ministry acknowledges that while LAC has been paying immigration residence permit fees, it has neglected to pay labor-related work permit fees, claiming exemption. The minister noted that historical records show previous administration have requested compliance, but the company has failed to get ahead. He added that the Mbaka-led administration is prepared to pursue all legal remedies, including court actions, to address this situation. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Labor has also announced the commencement of Phase 1 of the nationwide inspection and enforcement exercise aimed at ensuring compliance with work permit regulation. The exercise is one of 3 planned inspections designed to enforce full adherence to the Decent Work Act, particularly the provisions regarding the issuance of work permit for foreign workers. This enforcement exercise, the ministry added, will be conducted in collaboration with the Liberia Immigration Service, the Liberia Revenue Authority, and CITAS. It will cover all employment institutions, including construction areas across the country. The Ministry of Labor urged all institutions to ensure that work permits for foreign employees are valid and up to date and are fully disclosed and will fully disclose all non-Liberian staff in their employment. The ministry warned that failure to comply will constitute a violation of the law. The World Bank Group Managing Director, Chief of Knowledge Officer, Pascal Donaho, commended the Central Bank of Liberia for progress in monetary stability, banking strength, and digital financial inclusion, describing the development as a great moment of opportunity despite global economic uncertainty. Pascal Donaho's visit to Liberia is his first trip to West Africa since assuming office in November 2025. He praised Liberia reforms and emphasized the importance of private sector growth, stating that private sector is essential for job creation, especially in an economy like Liberia. He highlighted ongoing support for small and medium-sized enterprises, noting progress on the LIFT project, which has deployed USD 6 billion through 30 institutions to cover 200 SMEs, so 40% of beneficiary accessing commercial credit for the first time. He added that strong tax revenue alone cannot succeed without private sector dynamism, underscoring the need for continued investment in Liberia's business development. Mr. Donaho further pledged the World Bank's backing for key reforms, including the CBL's credit reference system, set for launch in April 2026, and insolvency reforms aimed at strengthening the financial sector. On a separate note, the President held discussion with the high-level delegation led by Mr. Pascal Donahoe. The discussion focused on advancing Liberia's development priorities, including job creation, electricity access, and improved economic governance. The meeting underscores ongoing collaboration between the Government of Liberia and the World Bank Group to accelerate national development efforts. Central to the discussion, an effort to expand electricity access through the Mission 300 initiative, boost employment opportunities, and strengthen public financial management. During the talks, Donahoe reaffirmed the bank's commitment to supporting Liberia's development agenda, particularly the arrest agenda for inclusive development and its broader development framework. He noted that the institution remains responsive to the needs of the Liberian people and is prepared to work closely with Liberia to address pressing challenges. He disclosed plans to support the rollout of approximately 100,000 new electricity connections annually over the next 5 years, a move aimed at stabilizing the country's power supply and driving economic growth. In response, President Ouattara welcomed the delegation, expressed appreciation for the World Bank's continued engagement, highlighted road connectivity as a major priority for his administration, stressing that improved infrastructure is critical to expanding economic opportunities and advancing livelihoods. The National Port Authority is making significant strides in modernizing Liberia's maritime sector, including a major firefighting training program in Monrovia, while simultaneously leading efforts to shape Africa's data-driven port future at a critical event taking place in the Ivory Coast. The MPA completed a 4-day training section for over 25 firefighters at the Freeport of Monrovia. The training was conducted by Scope Africa Initiative, a European Union-funded program. The training was designed to enhance port security, crisis response, and compliance with international safety standards. The Government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has announced plans to host a National Youth Agriculture Forum. This move marks a significant one that places young people at the heart of the country's agricultural transformation agenda. Speaking during ongoing field engagement with farmers, Agriculture Minister J. Ezan Mutar emphasized the importance of investing in Liberia's youthful population to secure the future of agriculture. With more than 60% of our population being young people, the sustainability of agriculture depends on how effectively young people are brought in the sector. The upcoming forum will bring together young farmers, policymakers, and development partners to explore opportunities in agro-businesses, innovation, financing, and modern farming technologies. The initiative, supported by partners including UNDP, is aimed at making agriculture more attractive, profitable, and youth-driven, moving away from traditional methods towards a modern, mechanized system. the Intergovernment Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, in collaboration with the Financial Intelligence Agency of Liberia, has commenced a 5-day pre-rate assessment workshop for stakeholders from all sectors to help identify, assess, and understand risks in every sector of Liberia's anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism regime. The workshop, which runs from March 23rd to 27, 2026, is being held in Monrovia, and stakeholders participating in the workshop include the Central Bank of Liberia, Ministry of Justice, the Liberia National Police, Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, the National Lottery Authority, the Ministry of Mines and Energy, Liberia Revenue Authority, and the Bank for Development and Liberia Bank for Development and Investment, among other entities. Key issues highlighted at the workshop include a reminder of the National Risk Assessment Report, experiences and outcome mechanism for National Risk Assessment coordination and timelines, and the revision of the Financial Action Task Force assessment methodology and their impact on the National Risk Assessment recommendations. All important discussions focus on brainstorming on money laundering, terrorist financing risks, the concept of national risk assessment, and the assessment methodology and fact recommendation, and the logic behind the World Bank national risk assessment, among other important issues. The National Watch Commission yesterday observed World Water Day in Liberia through the National Commission proudly joins the world in recognizing the importance of water to life, health, and sustainable development. Each year, March 22nd is celebrated as World Water Day. This year observance focuses on the theme water and gender. Where water flows, equality grows. The day highlights the importance of fresh water, sustainable management, and the need for inclusive water governance. The national commemoration began on Friday, March 20th, with community outreach and awareness activities led by the National Watch Commission in collaboration with NGOs partners across several communities. Activities continue today. Yesterday, inter-school debates aimed at engaging young people on critical watch issues. That debate was held, and they are closing today. The celebration is being climaxed today with a parade, followed by an indoor ceremony and symposium at the Monrovia Christian Academy Christian Fellowship on 9th Street. Discussions at the symposium will focus on Liberia's water resources, sustainable development goal 6, water treatment methods, and access to safe water in health facilities. Lastly, the Drug Enforcement Agency Prevention and Community Outreach Services section concluded the second day of its illicit drug awareness and peer-to-peer education program at the DEA headquarters in Fiamma. The initiative held on the theme Understanding Drug, Substance Abuse, and Peer Education aims to educate students on the danger of illicit drugs and encourage responsible drug-free lifestyle. Students from 7th to 12th grade of the George and Lokin Welleston Law International College of West Africa Carrie Baptist School and around Central Monrovia single benefited from an awareness section. Participants were equipped with the necessary knowledge and skills to serve as peer educators and advocate against substance abuse within their schools and communities. Those who facilitated the 2-day program were Malamud. Okay, so the DA is continuing her exercise across schools, now reaching the schools, because they discovered that many schools, many students are involved with the use of drugs and other illicit substances. Thank you for your attention. The press conference today was in twofold. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the country was here. He spoke to you. I sure you already asked me a question. Minister of Kia is here. I spoke on the issues that we deemed necessary to speak to today as the Ministry of Information. We will now pause and entertain questions if there are any from members of the press. Thank you.
Please call your name and institution.
Thank you. My name is Mokolu and I'm for Liberia. So I just want to use this time to, I think,
Please have it quiet. Protect your colleagues, please.
to inform the government about what currently happening. You know, the issue of the global, let us say, the international crisis. Now the issue of fuel gas, the president escalated. But then many Liberians try to use that in Russia, for example, the sack of water is being sold down for previously $100, people selling $120, $110. Even the fish in the market, $100 being sold for $150. When you ask, they say because the people from the coast area say fuel price up. So what the government will do so that people will not misuse this issue at the detriment of the people.
My name is Abdullah Ekutodi and I report for Blaze FM. I don't know as to whether Mr. Pia may permit me to ask this question because the time was limited and this question I really need to ask it concerning the because I do believe you'll be the best person to answer this question.
Why?
And I'll go ahead, sir.
Why?
Okay. Okay, so Minister Pia, based on the information communicated to the Liberian people about President Joseph Boakar's recent visit to Guinea Conakry, do you consider the recent actions and attitude of the Guinean authorities to be undermining the discussions and agreement reached between Liberia and Guinea regarding the ongoing border dispute? Or is there any aspect of the discussion held during President Joseph Boakar's visit with the President of Guinea that was not fully disclosed to the Liberian public? Thank you.
Good afternoon again, my name is Andy. That report was started. My question goes.
Quiet, please. Please.
My question goes to. Yeah, I want to ask Mr. Samuel concerning what is the stand of the Labour Ministry concerning like freedom to comply to the government? The stance of the Labour Ministry concerning like freedom to comply to the government.
So I'm Samuel Johnson, I report for TV Online Television. My question is to Mr. Pia. During the last 3 press conferences, Mr. Pia, he said to critics who believe that the government wasn't doing much when it comes to the issue of the border dispute between Liberia and Guinea. And he said if they feel that the government isn't doing much, they should volunteer themselves so that the government can get the armed so they can go and defend their country. And then just a few days ago, we see ex-rebel leaders who have already volunteered themselves. And so I wanted to ask as to whether the government is now prepared to get any arms so that they can go and defend their country, or how can you reconcile your statement and also their actions in the last 2 days?
Thank you.
Re-emphasize on the question of access with regards to the recent statement that was brought by Minister said that there are serious issues with social media. Yeah. So
the government is duly aware of the consequences in the crisis in the Middle East. So the government did announce an adjustment in the price of petroleum products. That adjustment can be considered as a ceiling for the price of government approved price of petroleum products in the country. The communique announcing that approved price went forward to admonish members of the business community to desist from creating any form of artificial shortage. That communique also informed the public that the Ministry of Commerce and LPRC, working in conformity, will be monitoring the situation, and anybody caught calling the product to create artificial shortage will be dealt with according to the law. So, to the best of our understanding of the situation, that's how much we know. Whether others are now increasing the price of the sack of water or the sachet of water in the market, thank you for bringing it to our attention. We alert the Ministry of Commerce, and I think they've been doing a lot in the press, in the business community of it. We also inform the Ministry of Commerce about that, so that they can ensure that people do not take advantage of the prevailing situation to just impose prices on the consumers. When the chairperson of the Joint Security spoke, I thought it was very detailed. This question about whether Liberia consider the action of Guinea as counterproductive to ongoing diplomatic effort to resolve the border crisis. I think maybe Minister Pierre will speak to it, but I thought the minister spoke to it in detail. And as a country, we can determine what other people's action will be. What we have to say, what we have said here to the population, that all of the diplomatic channels, regional channels have been exploited in our efforts to resolve this issue. What I read from the ministry was very clear. That companies that are not in compliance with the Decent Work Act, with the laws of Liberia, will be dealt with in keeping with the law. If you are running a concession company, that concession does not in any way exempt you from paying taxes, from paying fees to the Ministry of Labor. And so they were very clear that this company, LAC, that is operating in Grand Basso, has not been paying labor permit, permit fees for their foreign workers. They've been operating like that for the last 70 years. It is part of the ministry's oversight responsibility over concession companies. They also announced that it's starting the regular inspection exercise to to ensure that people who come to Liberia to work are not doing so in violation of our laws. Because don't forget, those jobs are needed most for Liberians. And in some instances, if there are people who are foreigners, I shouldn't say people, there are foreigners who are brought into the country doing jobs that Liberians can do. Of course, we know that the Ministry of Labor has been working overtime to address some of these concerns. So I think the last question was from Mr. Pierre. All right.
Here is what I want to say. Those of you who are privileged to be assigned at the Ministry of Information as journalists, you got to prove that you are indeed a journalist. If you intentionally get involved in acts of misinformation, then you betray the journalism profession. I don't remember telling anybody that the government gets complicated to go from. Maybe that they don't pay you high enough for this. If you're a journalist, and something you didn't hear is what you broadcasting, it's unfortunately a sign. I'm not going to waste time like that. It's a question. I know there were some people in society who thought that the government's diplomatic approach was wrong. Our territorial integrity was being encroached upon. We are a country. We should do whatever we can to get people into somebody king on our territory. We insisted that what we're doing we believe is a railway. And maybe somewhere you believe that what was happening not a railway, that fighting you won't go volunteer to do it. That's what I said. I didn't come to God, that's what I'm going to get you done. So if your understanding led you to that, it's unfortunate, but I hope you get a clarification now. That was the next question. Somebody asked me the Sierra Leonean situation. I don't remember quite why it was, anyway, not ready. But here is what I would say finally on the Indian situation. The leaders met. It signed a communique. The three countries remain committed to communicate. When the Justice Minister spoke here, he did not acknowledge any particular situation at our border reportedly or allegedly committed by India. He never said that. So if what you're making reference to are the multiplicity of AI-generated images of movement, of conflict, of encroachment, we urge you to accept earlier to examine those things carefully as you run with it. Because I wish to remind you that those of us who sing war, those who beyond your age and who know what war is, will not conduct yourself in any way, whether intentionally or unintentionally, consciously or unconsciously, to be sounding the warmongers or wanting to promote acts of war. Because you don't know whether when it happens, you will continue to be here or you'll be somewhere else. Because the bullets they use in war got no eyes. They will not distinguish between government officials, opposition politicians, partisans of UP, partisans of CDC, partisans of ANC. They will not distinguish amongst anybody. So we saw it because we're here. Even the men that can fight war can get exhausted. They can crave for the end. I was sitting there with the defense minister and we were having a conversation, and she was telling me about the experience in Mali. Our troops who have been victimized, their bodies were being taken back home on a weekly basis. Some of them left their children, their wives, their husbands, family members. They never had a chance to go back to see them. they went back as cargo. Cherish the peace we enjoy. That peace that helps you to go to bed, wake up in the morning, whether you have money or not, you go on your hustle, and before the day ends, you get something to eat. That kind of opportunity does not exist when there is war. Stop warmongering. Stop sharing fake AI generated images that suggest chaos in your country or at your border. It doesn't help anybody. Before you just made reference to crisis. Why are you responsible? War. When we're here a few times, we around, nothing was happening. You are hearing about Biafra going on today, when they won't go out. It's happening because of war. War is not good. And that's why our approach to this conflict is not aggression. It's diplomacy, it's dialogue, it's engagement, it's negotiation, it's peace seeking. We'll continue on that path, guided by the communique that was signed, because also in that communique, in the next 1 month, which some time already gone, so in a couple of weeks, the MRU leader will reconvene and they will have an MRU summit. And there they hope to consolidate on what was achieved at the first meeting and which generated that communique. I hope that addressed that question. And finally, I just want to say that my office has been made aware that the reporters network here at the ministry mourns the passing of one of your members, Mr. Amosin Jala from Radio Advent, I'm told. I didn't hear about it until the very Saturday that it was said the funeral should have taken place when Mokolo or someone sent a text to me. Our deepest sympathy to both the reporters network and his family. We hope that in the future, these information are brought to us in time so that the ministry can make the appropriate representations at the funeral, or even, if possible, kept with the cost that is usually associated with burial. Even though that did not happen, we ensure that Acting Minister Family and our delegation will go and see his family. So in person, express our condolences to his family. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you, Minister.